All right. Call you back in 3. Call you back in 2. Call you back in 1. So today is Monday, September 28th, right here. So you should find this a virtual classroom. Jonah, I know you're new, so do you know where to find this?
Canvas.
So you'll log into Canvas, and it should be, well, that's not it. It should be on the home page, and you'll just click on Monday. All right, so you have your notes. So you're going to need to go ahead and make a copy of your notes. So this is what they look like. What do you have to do?
File copy.
File, make a copy.
File, make a copy.
Okay, then you'll be able to edit it so you can turn it in on Canvas. You also do have access to the PowerPoint. So if I go too fast, or if you get lost along the way, or maybe you wanted to like rewatch the videos, you can also have access to that PowerPoint and watch that PowerPoint. Okay. But today we are going to be talking about perception. Why would it be a good idea to understand perception when it comes to communication? Understand what?
You kind of explain what perception is.
Yeah, can you give me a definition real quick?
Y'all don't know what perception is?
No.
To perceive something? That wasn't helpful at all.
We gotta go a little bit deeper.
It's when you look at things in a different way than others.
Okay.
Oh,
There's
so
a high level
like,
of that.
so like I could say that pillow is to my right, but for you it's to your left.
Yeah. So it's perception.
Or like,
Or I might say,
over there.
or I might say that that board over there is blue, and you might say that it's green because we perceive it to be a different color.
Yo, can I say something about color real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so I had like this realization that we could all see colors differently.
And not know it.
Yeah, because like he could see this like as my blue, but like I see it as green. But he thinks it's green because it's always been green.
Because people call it green.
That's what it's like to be colorblind.
No, that's not colorblind. It's colorblind.
So we're actually going to talk about color today. All right. So back to my original question, though. So now that we can kind of understand what perception is, why would it? Are y'all listening?
Hey, good. Color back in 3. Color back in 2. Color back in 1.
So now that we kind of understand what perception actually means, why is perception important to communicating? Why would that be an important factor to keep in mind when you're trying to communicate with somebody? Yeah.
Because like if you guys perceive something differently and not know it, there could be an error in the communication between y'all two.
Yeah, exactly. Like there could be error in the communication because you are perceiving something to be different. All right. So we're going to kind of talk about perception today and how it's made. Okay. A great example is if you look at this screen up here, I want you to think about the word that you're seeing on the screen right here. Okay, think about it, think about it, think about it. There are actually 2 different words here.
It's evil and good.
But raise your hand if you see good.
That's not good first.
So you saw good first. So raise your hand if you saw good first. Raise your hand if you saw evil first.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
On the inside of good.
So you have the black is good. So you have it outlined here. And then evil is in the white. Right there. It's the white. You see, here's the E, there's the V, there's the I, there's the L.
All I see is
How can you not see it?
all I see is evil.
But that's his perception. All he sees is good.
All I see is evil.
Okay? So perception is, now this is what you're writing down in your notes, so be aware. Perception is an active process of becoming aware and understanding one's environment that is unique to the individual and is strongly influenced by communication. In layman's terms, it's your way of looking and understanding something in your own individual way. We can all be in the same exact room right now, but some of you are going to perceive it in a different way. So another great example of perception is, okay, based on your environment, based on how I communicate with you, you're going to have a different perception of me as a person, the way I communicate with you. So if you're a student who comes in here every single day and you do your work, you do everything that you're supposed to be doing, you're probably going to perceive me as a pretty nice, chill teacher. However, if you're a student who comes in here and I constantly have to get on to you about doing the right thing, then you're probably going to perceive me as an annoying teacher. Thanks. All right. Do y'all have both of those words written down? Process and unique. Don't be pointing people out. All right. Moving forward, I have a video. It's, if you've ever heard of like the dress controversy or the Laurel Yanny controversy, that's what we're going to be talking about. There is a word on here that you do need to write down in your notes though. So perceptions can vary among people. So we might be able to hear the same thing, but hear two completely different messages.
No, it's the one that you think.
I always like to come out here and I like to talk about how
So here's
much
our
we
video.
have in common more than we are different. And it doesn't matter what your politics are. It doesn't matter your race or religion. Here at the Ellen Show, we all come together as one, except for the people in the Riff Raff room. They're separate. But they're happy. They just didn't get tickets in time. They're happy. But there are still things that divide us. And today I want to talk about the biggest controversy since this dress. You remember this? All right, now I personally see a gold and white dress. How many people see a gold and white? Okay. All right. How many people see a blue and white dress? Just screaming doesn't make more of you. It just just an arm up help. All right. How many of you have heard of this Laurel and Yanny thing? Okay. All right. Not the comedy duo. They stopped touring years ago. The old Yanny and Laurel. All right. I'm talking about the viral sound that is tearing the nation apart. Listen carefully to this, and then you're going to tell me if you hear Laurel or Yanny.
Yanny. Yanny. Yanny. Yanny.
Okay. How many people?
All right, raise your hand if you heard Laurel.
I hear both.
Raise your hand if you hear Yanny.
I tried this one.
Raise your hand if you hear both. I hear both as well.
Think of what you have to
Well,
think
okay,
of.
is it
If
weird
you
if the
think of
dress
Laurel,
was
you hear
blue and
Laurel.
black?
If you think of Andy, you hear Andy.
Yes, but the moment you think of the other word, it automatically turns to the other word. So I have been a huge Laurel person. My whole, like, ever since this came out, I've been like, it's Laurel. Y'all are crazy. How do you get Yanny from Laurel? Okay. I actually challenged myself today to try to hear Yanny, and now I can't stop hearing Yanny.
Wait, can you play it again? I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
play Laurel.
So I want y'all, that was what I was going to do. I want y'all to challenge yourself. Now you have to focus really, really hard to hear the other word. Okay, if you already heard both, then y'all can kind of tell, okay, you have to really focus. But if you only hear Yanny or if you only hear Laurel, I want you to focus really, really hard to try to hear the other word. Are y'all ready?
Yanny.
Yanny. Yanny. Yanny. Yanny.
Okay. How many people hear Laurel?
How many of y'all hear both now?
I was trying so hard.
Yeah, so you really do have to trick your brain very, very hard, because I still hear Laurel more than I hear Yanny, but I understand how people can hear Yanny. And on top of that, I always thought it was Yanni. So I'm listening for Yanni, but when you say Yanny, you're like, oh, Yanny. Okay. So she has some more.
Oh, here's some more.
Yeah, she does have more.
Laurel? How many people hear Yanni? Again, yelling does not make more of you. You still are not as many people as the correct people, which are Laurel. It is Laurel. It's Laurel. Now, Laurel. It's so easy. It's Laurel. So more of you hear Laurel. The people who hear Yanni, I'm going to have to ask you to leave because it's crazy though, isn't it? I mean, we can hear the exact same thing and then hear something completely different. How many of you have husbands and you tell them to take the trash out and put the dishes away and they hear have a beer and take a nap? Yeah. Totally same thing and yet they hear it. So this morning I heard something that blew my mind even more. Okay, I'm going to play a clip. Listen carefully to this. All right, now I'm going to play a different clip.
The juice of lemons makes fine punch.
Now I'm going to play the first clip you heard. It's like a horror movie, isn't it?
Did y'all hear it? Isn't that weird? I've watched this video all day today, and the first time she ever plays it, I still can't hear it. But as soon as she says the words to it, I'm like, oh, it's weird. You want to play it again?
Yeah.
I have to get it right on the right spot. Let's see. I think right here, maybe.
All right, now I'm going to play a different clip.
The juice of lemons makes fine punch.
Now I'm going to play the first clip you heard. It's like a horror movie, isn't it? Clearly you can hear the juice. The juice of lemons, right? Makes fine punch. At first you just hear static, but then the brain knows what to listen for, and then you hear it. Apparently it comes down to pitch and the power of suggestion. And I think that's a good lesson to remember because, you know, there are times that we're going to disagree, and it doesn't matter who's right and who's wrong. And what makes you better is really listening to somebody else as long as they hear Laurel.
Okay, so your perceptions vary, okay? In order for you to hear the words within that static, you have to literally be told what to listen for, okay? And that's called something that we're actually going to talk about later on, and I'll teach you all that. But we also got to look at the physiology of and why physiology plays an effect into perception. So I believe this is number 1 on your notes. So you're going to write down physiology on your notes. And all physiology is just like how your body might make things perceived differently, or you might perceive things differently based off of your body. For example, I have terrible eyesight. Now, if those of you who have 20/20 eyesight were to take my eyeballs, you would think that I live in a horror show because none of you have eyes. All you have are just black sockets right there on your face, and that's it. That's all I see when I don't have my glasses on. So if you're like giving me eyeballs, I'm not going to be able to tell if I don't have my glasses on because you don't have eyes and I'm perceiving you as somebody without eyes. I can't see your eyes. I can see you're blurry. You're so blurry to a point where your eyes don't exist.
That's scary.
That's why I said, like, if you have 20/20 vision, you're going to be like really weirded out when you like look at life through my eyes. Okay. So this is the same thing we were talking about earlier, like having color blindness. Okay. You're going to perceive things in a different way because your physiology is making you perceive it in a different way. Okay. Question, Christian.
Have you ever drove without your glasses?
Have I ever drilled?
Drove.
Trove? Yes. It's the scariest thing in the world.
Did you cry?
No, I just don't know where I'm going. So I'm squinting the whole time. It's terrible. I can't read signs when I'm driving. So I look for shapes and colors. So if there's a stop sign, I'm like looking for the stop sign. All right. So here's where we're talking about color blindness, or our superhumans who can see more colors than the normal person. Okay. So this video is going to talk about the cones in your eyes. Normal people have 3 cones in their eyes. They perceive blue, red, and green, and it makes up a whole plethora of different colors. So that's what normally we have. If a person is colorblind, they're only going to have 2 of those cones. But there are superhumans out there who have 4 and can see extra colors.
Remember that double rainbow guy? Well, can you imagine his reaction if he'd seen 100 more rainbows? Hello, visionaries. Julian here for D News. Your senses are an illusion. They're all just ways your brain interprets your environment, and they leave a lot out. Like, radio waves are basically the same thing as visible light. They're just so stretched out you can't see them. But you can tune into a radio station and know they're there. But what about invisible information in between what you can see? Could there be more to sense hiding in plain sight? Absolutely. Most people can see about 1 million colors. This is because inside of the typical human eye, there are 3 types of cones that are sensitive to red, green, and blue wavelengths of light, and each can differentiate about 100 shades, which can be mixed and matched, so 100 to the 3rd power means there are 1 million possibilities. This is why TV and computer screens use mosaics of red, green, and blue lights to display images. Digital cameras detect varying levels of red, green, and blue light when you take a picture. It's technology designed around our biology. Well, most people's biology, not all. Some people have a genetic mutation which renders one cone inoperative, making them dichromatic instead of trichromatic, or what we would call colorblind. Usually these people are men because the genes for cones are carried on the X chromosome. So colorblind men would need just 1 mutated X chromosome, while colorblind women would need to get 2. So if it's possible to effectively have 2 functioning cones and only see 10,000 colors, is it also possible to have 4 different cones and be able to see 100 million? That's what Newcastle University neuroscientist Gabrielle Jordan has been searching for decades. And in 2010, she finally found one. Jordan was testing women who have colorblind sons, the rationale being the sons must have inherited a mutated X chromosome from their mothers. So the women must have 2 different X chromosomes and therefore 4 cones in their eyes. The women looked at 3 colored circles that to most people would look identical, but one had just a little red or green mixed in and would only be visible to someone with 4 active cones. And out of the 24 women who took the test, only 1 got every single question right. So it's rare. It's estimated only about 1% of people have a 4th cone, and even then, many don't seem to use it. And even when they do, how can they communicate what they see to us 3-cone non-superhumans? It's the classic, what if my red is different than your red, but we can't tell question all over again. So why are tetrachromats who can actually use their powers so rare? The precise reason is still a mystery. According to Jameson, it may come down to learning to use that extra cone, informally called the yellow cone. It could be that even though some people have 4 cones, their brains are adapted for the usual 3, and taking advantage of those extra hues comes with repetition that makes the brain rewire itself. Or maybe they just don't notice the extra cones because no one else is mentioning them. Jameson also notes that the difference between a tetrachromat's vision and a trichromat's is not as dramatic as the difference between a trichromat's and a dichromat's. If you are a dichromat, though, don't feel left out. Tons of animals are right there with you. Dogs are dichromats too, and it's a myth that they only see in black and white. For more cool info on how your eyes see colors, Julia's got some deets on that right here.
In colorblind people, 75% have trouble with green, while only 20% have issues seeing red. It's not like those colors don't exist for them. Most colorblind people can actually see these colors when they're bright. But if they're dull or muted in some way, they start to get a little hard to tell apart.
Special thanks to the folks at Fig One for providing the animations. Be sure to check them out here. You feel physical.
Okay, so with this being said, okay, our whole entire lives we would perceive it 100% differently based off of the cones that we had. So if I was to wake up today, or maybe you were to wake up today and all of a sudden you see a brand new color, okay, or colors, okay, you would probably be walking around outside going, oh no, more colors? Because you're perceiving the world in a different way. You're like, oh my God, I've never noticed how beautiful it was out here with all these crazy colors going on. Or take, for example, if y'all have ever seen those videos where somebody's like trying to separate Skittles, but as a colorblind person, and I think they just make the room like super red and they try to like figure out which colors are which. There's videos out there that shows you what it's like to be colorblind. And I would definitely watch those, or like try to like experiment and do the same thing, because it's really weird. And I've done the Skittle thing before and it's very frustrating. So if any of y'all are colorblind, I'm so sorry because it's frustrating. Okay. So moving on, we're actually going to test out our eyes for a second. So the point of this video is although we might use our eyes to help us make perceptions on things, ugh, I can't speak today. I'm having a hard time. It's a Monday. But although we use our eyes to look and see things as they are, and that way it builds up a perception for us, we can't always trust our eyes. Sometimes our eyes will lie to us. So on this board, this gentleman has 2 different boards filled with dots that are colors. You're not looking at one specific dot, you're looking at the dots in general, and you're trying to pick out what color dots are the same color. Okay? And I'll explain it more to you once we actually get the visual up.
I want to start with a game, okay? And to win this game, all you have to do is see the reality that's in front of you as it really is, all right? So we have 2 panels here of colored dots, and one of those dots is the same in the 2 panels.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause this here because they don't really give you enough time to like soak in the colors. So he's saying that there is one color out of these 2 boards that is the same exact color as the one on the other board. So are they the red ones or the orange ones, whatever you want to call it? Are they the green ones, the blue ones, the gray ones? Which dots? Now you don't have to look at one dot specifically. All of these dots are the same color on this board as far as the greens go. And then all of these dots on this board are all the same color as well. So he's not trying to trick you at all. He's just telling you, look at these 2 boards. Out of these 2 boards, what color is the same?
I think I know what it is.
And he will narrow it down to 3 colors for you.
Okay? And you have to tell me which one. Now narrow it down to the gray one, the green one, and say the orange one. So by a show of hands, we'll start with the easiest one. Show of hands, how many people think it's the gray one?
Raise your hand if you think it's gray.
Really? Okay.
So raise your hand if you think the gray one's the same color on each board.
Wait, go back.
You need me to go back?
I didn't even see a gray one on the other one.
Yeah.
They're right there.
Oh.
Oh, the other color.
Stupid. What's the yellow?
Why are there blanks in it?
Are they blanks or are they black?
It's like a name.
That's right. It's purple.
So your answers are gray, green, or orange. He's narrowed it down for you. So raise your hand on the ones that you think
Now
it
narrowed
is.
it down to the gray one, the green one, and say the orange one. So by a show of hands, we'll start with the easiest one. Show of hands, how many people think it's the gray one? Really? Okay. How many people think it's the green one?
So green? Did I have anybody raise for gray? Okay, so green. Nope, nobody raised for gray.
And how many people think it's the orange one?
Raise your hand if you think it's orange. Okay.
So pretty even split. So let's find out what the reality is. Here is the orange one.
Boom. It's different.
Here's the green one.
Boom. It's different.
And here's the gray one.
It's the same.
So for all of you saw that, you're complete realists.
The background.
All right? So this is pretty amazing, actually, isn't it? Because nearly every living system has evolved the ability to detect light in one way or another. So for us, seeing color is one of the simplest things the brain does. And yet, even at this most fundamental level, context is everything.
Okay. So he's saying even at the most fundamental level, context is everything. So you can't always you can't always just trust your eyes. You have to know the context of something. For example, you are perceiving 2 people horsing around as a legitimate fight. But when you get closer and you hear them laughing at each other, now you're like, okay, this isn't an actual fight. They're playing around. Okay, so you can't always trust your eyes. You have to know what context is surrounded by them. So the context in this one is, okay, they're on a black background or a white background, which makes you think that they're all different colors or the same colors, when really they're not. Okay. The next thing on your notes is past experience. Okay. Your past experience is going to change your perception of things. What I mean by this is you could prime yourself to think a certain way, or you can have expectations. So for example, you have that Ellen video where she showed, like, played static for you and then played like the actual message, and then y'all heard the static. That's because you're expecting to hear that sentence within that static. So your brain automatically clicks because it knows what it should be hearing. So we're going to take another example of expecting, and this is called expectancy effect.
Hey, what's up? It's Matt, and take a listen to this clip from the Imagine Dragons song Polaroid. It's nice, but we get something interesting when it's played backwards. Here, take a listen. Wait, didn't you hear it? Let me put the words up and play it again.
Did y'all hear it? Y'all did hear it?
How do you see the server backwards?
I really heard Escape the Ritual. This one kind of like, it loses me after that, but I really do hear Escape the Ritual.
Have y'all heard server backwards?
Which one?
Server backwards.
Yeah, it's creepy.
You hear it now? That's weird, right? Well, the weirder thing is, why didn't you hear this until I put the words there? Does this backwards message actually exist, or is this some sort of mental trick? There are tons of songs with backwards messages, but if you listen to them before looking at the lyrics, like we did, they're unintelligible. You can try this with other songs too. Jeff Milner's Backmasking collection has a lot of good examples of this. Without these written lyrics, backwards songs are just gibberish. But when we have lyrics, when we know what we're looking for, we automatically create an expectation for how the song should sound to us. And as we listen to it, we interpret those noises in a way that supports that expectation, and we hear those lyrics. This is the expectancy effect, that when we have expectations for some result, we are much more likely to perceive that result.
Okay, so just like you said, once we have that expectation of the result, we are then going to perceive that result. So we're going to basically make that result up in our heads. If you watch that video any further, he actually admits that those lyrics aren't really in that music, that they just literally made it up the night before just to prove the point of expectancy effect. Okay, so if you did hear it, he basically just manipulated you into hearing something that you really didn't hear. Cool. So those of you who didn't hear it, good job. You did not get manipulated.
I definitely did not. Oh, bro.
Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is how you can prime an audience to think a certain way. So this video basically tells you, make sure that you are trying to prove, or you're trying to disprove the truth in order to find out if it's true or not. Let me say it again because that is really confusing. So anytime you think something is true, try to disprove it to really find out if it's true or not. If you cannot disprove it, what is it? It's true. If you can disprove it, what is it? False. Okay? So this is what this gentleman tries to do with this game that he plays with people.
I'm going to give you guys three numbers, a three-number sequence, and I have a rule in mind that these three numbers obey. And I want you to try to figure out what that rule is. But the way that you can get information is by proposing your own set of three numbers, to which I will say, yes, that follows my rule, or no, it doesn't follow my rule, and then you can propose what you think the rule is. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Did y'all get that? Okay. If you didn't get it, all he's trying to do is try to get you to get information out of him. So all he's going to do is tell you yes or no, and you have to figure out what information that you're trying to get from him. So you're trying to figure out the rule. You can propose other numbers to try to figure out if the rule, like what the rule is, okay? Because all he's going to do is just give you yes or no answers. He's not going to tell you what the rule is. You'll see how it works in a second.
Okay, so here are the three numbers, 2, 4, 8.
2, 4, 8.
You don't need to continue the sequence. You can propose a totally different sequence, whatever you want to propose, and I will simply say yes or no. That follows my rule.
4, 8. 16, 32.
16, 32, and
64.
What are they trying to see if the rule is?
If it's x2.
If it's times 2, okay?
those also follow my rule.
Okay.
What's the rule? What are you thinking?
Multiply by 2.
That is not my rule.
So y'all
That's not my
wrong.
rule. But you're allowed, if you want, propose 3 other numbers.
3, 6, 12. 3, 6, 12.
3, 6, 12 follows my rule.
10, 20, 40.
10, 20, 40.
That follows the rule.
You have to multiply by 2.
I know.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing. And yes, it follows my rule, but no, it's not my rule.
5, 10, 10, and 20.
Follows my rule.
100,
200. 400.
Follows my rule.
500, 1,000, 2,000.
Follows my rule.
Want me to keep going?
But right, just keep going. You're gonna tell me your rule.
Am I doing it the wrong way? Am I approaching this the wrong way?
You're totally fine, but you're approaching it the way most people approach it. Like, think strategically about this. You want information.
Yeah.
I have information. The point of the 3 numbers, right, is to allow you to figure out what the rule is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to give you the numbers that I don't think fits the sequence and then see what you say. So I'll say 2, 4, 7.
Fits my rule.
So whatever I propose is right?
So is your rule like you can propose any number? So the rule is anything we say is yes.
No.
Damn it.
But you are on the right track now. Hit me with 3 numbers.
3, 6, 9.
Follows my rule.
Oh, that didn't follow my rule.
This is good, right?
5, 10, 15.
That follows my rule.
What? Oh. Really?
Yeah.
I don't believe this.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Follows the rule.
What about 7, 8, 9?
Follows. Yes, that follows the rule.
8, 16, 39.
Fits the rule.
Excellent.
But we're no closer to the rule. I want you to get to the rule.
How about 1, 7, 13?
Follows the rule.
11, 12, 13.
How does this make
Follows the rule.
sense?
10,
I don't know
9,
how to
8
do this.
Does not follow the rule.
10, 9, 8 does not.
Oh, so is it all in ascending order?
Booyah.
Okay.
Up top. Yes. First
that
ones
what
to
it
get it. You guys nailed it. That's the rule. That's the rule. Increase numbers in increasing order. Numbers in ascending order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 25. Doesn't matter. Any numbers in ascending order.
I was inspired to make this video by the book The Black Swan by Nassim Taleb. Now, the black swan is a metaphor for the unknown and the unexpected. I mean, in the old world, the theory was that all swans were white. So each instance of a white swan would make you think, yeah, that theory's pretty good. But the point is, you can never prove a theory true. And in fact, when people found Australia, they realized that there were black swans. What was interesting for me was that everyone I spoke to came up with a rule very early on and then only proposed numbers that fit with that rule they were thinking.
I was looking for you guys to propose a set of numbers that didn't follow your rule
Right.
and didn't follow my rule. I was looking for you guys not to try to confirm what you believe. You're always asking something where you expect the answer to be yes, right? Like you're trying
Yeah.
to get at it.
But instead you want to get the no.
You want to get the no because that's much more informational for you than the yes. Like if everything's
No, that
giving a
is
yes.
true. That is really true once you say that.
That is what's so important about the scientific method. We set out to disprove our theories. And it's when we can't disprove them that we say, this must be getting at something really true about our reality. So I think we should do that in all aspects of our lives. If you think that something is true, you should try as hard as you can to disprove it. Only then can you really get at the truth and not fool yourself.
Okay, so what he's saying is, okay, just because you believe something is true doesn't necessarily make it true. So if I said all students go to school, is that true?
No.
No, how can you disprove that?
Because Molly's not at school right now.
Yeah, okay, Molly's not in school, but do all students go to a physical school? No, we have some students who are at home still at school, okay? So that statement wouldn't be true. So you have to, there's some of you out there who are like, die hard, this is how it is, this is how I'm going to perceive this specific instance, this is the only way it's right. Okay? What you need to do is try your best to try to perceive it the other way to see if that's really true or not. So, for example, is everything on Fox News true?
No.
Probably not. You could probably go in and you can find information to disprove them. Is everything on CNN true? No, you could probably find things to disprove them. Okay, each one of our presidential nominees is everything they say true? No. Okay. So you have to be able to think, okay, in order to make sure that this is actually true, I'm going to try to disprove it. I'm going to find answers that might disprove this. Don't just fall into what everybody else is thinking. So this is a fun one as well. So I'm going to play this video. Hold on.
Bar.
Okay. And you are only going to look at one side of the screen. That's it. You're looking at one side of the screen. The first side I want you to look at is this side. So pretend like this one doesn't exist. Put your hand over it so you don't watch it. Okay. Do something to try to figure out, like block that one out. Okay. You're only looking at this side and that's it. And you're going to tell me if you hear the word bar or if you hear the word far. Ready?
Bar, bar, bar. Strange as it may seem, what you hear depends on which video you're looking at. Bar, 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 bar.
Okay, now you're going to look at the right side, so block out the left side. So on the left side, what did you hear? Bar or far?
Bar.
Huh? Raise your hand if you heard bar.
I heard like bar after bar.
Okay, so now you're going to look at this right side and tell me if you hear bar or far. Ready?
Bar, 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 bar.
Okay, and that's it. Okay, what did y'all hear on that one?
It's harder for far because it doesn't really sound like far.
It's because it's how he
So-
was moving his lips.
You have to look at his lips. So the way depending on what video you watch depends on what you actually hear. If you were looking at this one, he is making a B sound with his mouth and it should sound like bar. But if you looked at this side, he's making that F sound with his mouth, but it really is, and it should sound like far. Do you want to know what he's really saying?
R.
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 He's saying R, and they pre-recorded his mouth saying bar or far, and they just played it over it. Okay, so really, none of you heard the right thing. Okay? Interesting. Very interesting.
Culture.
So next you have culture. Okay? So culture really, do we? Oh, is it 5 minutes before? So culture is next on your notes. We are going to stop at culture because it's 5 minutes before class. We will continue these notes tomorrow.